All right, shalom, everyone. We're back to the Magila. And if you remember, last time we left Esther as she was beginning the second meal with Haman and Achashverosh. Achashverosh has a little bit of a question. Why was Haman invited? But Haman has no question whatsoever. Okay, but right before that, what happened? A few of very exciting turns of events. As you remember, King Achashverosh, king of the whole world, he strangely elevates Haman, this person called Haman ben Hammedatha. He elevates him to this high position, and to the point where Haman actually makes himself into a god, and everybody's bowing down to him. And the Jews are also bowing down to him, and they're no fools. He's the leading of the whole thing. All you have to do is just bow down, no big deal, right? But Mordechai refuses to bow down to him. And Mordechai, it awakens in Haman the very essence of his soul, is the very identity, his very essence of his identity, the reason he's alive, the thing that gives him the most pleasure possible, and that is to destroy all the Jews. Where he got that from, so it explains in his name that he is an Agagi. His name, he is a direct relative from Agag, who Agag was the king that King Saul let live for one night. By mistake, he was supposed to kill him. And Agag comes directly from Amalek. And Amalek is a nation which was created by God to hate the Jews. Pretty strange, but everything is created by God, and it's created by God to hate the Jews. And the Jews have to fight against it. It arouses in the Jew the necessity to war, to make a battle. Now remember, my friends, that all this is not, we're not learning Chassidut here, but the lessons of Chassidut are eternal. Everything that's written in these books is inside of us also. So each one of us has a little Amalek inside of him, and a little Haman inside of him, and a little Mordechai inside of him. Okay, so Haman is now sitting high. Everybody's bowing down to him, and he has decided he's going to kill Mordechai. And his friends say, his wife and his friends tell him, listen, if you're going to do it big. Make a gallows 50 amos high. 50 amos high. 50 amos high, we said, is like, 75 feet, 7 stories high. Something like that. Make it 7 stories high. Everybody's going to see it. And then when you hang Mordechai on it, everybody's going to see that you're really the victor. That's the highest you could possibly get. You're going to take the Jews. He's the head of the Jews, Mordechai, and you're going to hang him up 50 amos. That's also going to be a good encouragement to everybody in about another year's time, right? Another year's time, when the decree is going to come out to kill all the Jews. So meanwhile, Haman has convinced Achashverosh, the king Achashverosh, to send out a decree to tell everyone that in 1 year's time, because he threw these lots, like the first month of the Jewish year, and it's going to come out in the 12th month of the Jewish year, to kill a certain people. Everybody get ready, sharpen up your swords. A certain people are going to be killed. So everybody get excited. The Jews are not so excited, because the Jews don't exactly get pleasure out of killing people, so they're not. But Mordechai found out that this one nation that's going to be killed is the Jews. What's going to happen now? The Jews are helpless. So Esther says, listen, fast 3 days, and we'll all make a fast 3 days and see what happens. So they make a fast for 3 days, and they make a meal. She says, come to me tomorrow, and we'll make another meal. The king goes to sleep that night before the second meal, and he can't sleep, can't figure out why. So he says, bring me the my log. What is it called? The Chronicles. I have it read to me, and all of a sudden the page opens up. It says over there that Haman's sons were the servants of the king, and they tried to change the page, and it kept opening up the same page, and finally the page read out itself, and it said there was a guy called Mordechai that saved your life. So, oh yeah, I know who Mordechai is. He's that minister. Yeah, they tried to kill him. He saved your life. So he said, oh, really? No, I know. Maybe that's the reason that nobody's really giving me good information anymore. It's all fake news. Fake news didn't just start now. Back then, no, maybe that's the reason that no one's telling me why. I'm sort of suspicious of Esther and Haman if they got some sort of a plan, and no one's letting me know anything. Maybe because somebody once did me a favor and I didn't pay him back. So he said, what am I going to do to pay back this Mordechai? And he said, well, here's Haman, ask him. So Haman comes and he says, what am I supposed to do to repay somebody who I really want to? So Haman figures it's me. Haman figures it's him. So he says, put the person who we really love on a horse and put on your gown, your royal clothes, and get somebody to walk in front of him. He figures that's probably going to be Mordechai is going to walk in the front and yell out, this is what the king does to anyone who wants to honor. So the king said, great idea. Get Mordechai. Haman figures, well, it's great. Mordechai is going to pull the horse. I'm going to be sitting on the horse. And tell Mordechai that he has to sit on the horse. So he's drawing the horse. Now, this is not written over here. Well, I'm going to tell you now. So the Midrash says that he was drawing the horse through the streets, yelling out, this is what the king does to someone who he wants to honor. And Haman's daughter is on the top of her house, going to the bathroom or something. I don't know exactly how, but she has a bucket over there of excrement. And when she sees someone is walking through the street yelling, this is what the king does to someone who he honors, and there's someone sitting on the horse, she figures, obviously, this is my father sitting on the horse, and Mordechai is probably pulling the horse, which was, of course, the opposite of the truth. And she spilled this bucket on who she thought was Mordechai pulling the horse, but it was really her father. And her father looked up to see where was this coming from. And when she saw it was her father, so she jumped off of or she fell off, whatever, of the roof. So that's what it says over here. That's what it says. Vayashav Mordechai, the Mordechai went back to the gate of the king, said back to his sackcloth and everything, because the Jewish people are still under this decree. Haman nidchaf el beito, and Haman went back to his house, Ovel, in mourning over who? For his daughter that just died. V'chafui rosh, and is a shameful head. Says that's what the rabbis explained. This is in the Gemara and the Magila. Magila. Chafui rosh, like his head is how do you say, disgraced or whatever. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you. Good. One more. Haman told this to his wife and all of his friends. We did this last time. This is a little preface to what we get up to. Everything that happened, and all of his wise men and his wife Zeresh Ishto, they said, what? The king elevated Haman, and your daughter just threw this bucket of filth on your head, and she died? Doesn't look good. If this Mordecai is a Jew, and you began to fall in front of him, then you're not going to conquer him because you're going to even fall more. And Rashi says, why? Because the Jews were compared. God gave a blessing to Abraham and to Jacob, that the Jewish people would be like the dirt on the earth, and like the stars in the sky. So the dirt on the earth means that everybody walks on them. They're the lowest. But the stars in the sky, the one they raise up, they become the highest. And I read in another place that the Jews are like the dirt on the ground, that everybody walks on them, but in the end, they cover everybody. All of their enemies, everybody dies with. They get covered over by dirt. Okay. Next chapter. One second, I almost have. Oh, see, I learned the trick. Okay, here we got the chapter. Ready? Now everything's going to turn around. Ready? Ready for this? Vayavo Hamelech v'Haman, and Haman and the king went to drink with Esther Amalkah, second meal. Here's the second meal. Well, the next day. Vayomer Amelech, and the king said to Esther, Gam b'yom hasheni, on the second day, in this wine meal. They used to call their meals wine. They used to drink wine a lot. Whatever you want, and it will be given to you. I'll give you up to half of the kingdom, anything you want. And we learned before that this was hinting at that he was willing to give her the second temple. She did not tell him yet that she's a Jew, that he's willing to resume the building of the second temple if that's what she wants, because that was a big political issue in those days. The Jews had started building it, and he and the Sadducees and the what they're called, the Kutim, the Kutites, they were called the Shomranim, Samaritans, and they were the bad guys. They stopped the building of the temple. So we're going to see a big turnaround over here. What's going on over here? Essentially, it's going to happen the same thing to Haman. What he wanted to do to Mordechai. What did he want to do to Mordechai? He built this big gallows, 50 amos high, because he wanted to lift Mordechai really high up, so everybody would see. Well, in fact, that's what God did. God lifted up Haman really high. So let's see. There's a midrash. Here we go. Midrash Rabbah. There's a book called Midrash. Here's an example. After the Rabbi Levi said, that's what the Torah says in Psalms, Tehillim, Psalm 92. But when evil people grow up like weeds, and then they will be cut off, all those who do bad. What does it mean? They had to be destroyed forever. What does it mean? Well, Haman, it says they grow up first. Haman was made big, right? He grew up only for his bad. If he would have just kept a low profile, he could have lived for a long time. But instead, he got high, so he would have power to do things. And because of that very power, he caused his own demise. Lama Gadlu, why did God allow Haman to be very high? Mashal, this is an example. Legolir. Legolir, it means like a street sweeper or something. Shekilel libanosh Melech, to curse the prince. Omer Melech, the king said, if I kill him, so everybody's going to say, what's the big deal? He killed a street sweeper. Also, he made him into the mayor of the town. Afterwards, hegemon. Then he made it into a governor. And then afterwards, he was a big governor. He was a big minister in the government. Afterwards, he teased Roshel. Then he had his head cut off because he cursed the son of the king, right, a year ago when he was a simple person. Also, the same thing God said. Ilu ne'arag Haman, if I kill Haman when he was just an advisor to Achashverosh to stop the building of the temple. As low no one would know. So what did he do? Haman was one of the big advisors not to build a temple. I told you the story before that that the Haman came back with Mordechai. They both went to argue. Mordechai said we should continue building the temple, and Haman said not. And Haman ran out of food, and he sold himself to Mordechai. Mordechai had it written on his shoe. I told you the story, and he would show it to Haman all the time. That was one reason that he hated Mordechai. But the fact is, he hated all the Jews anyway. Anyway, so what did he do? God said, okay, this Haman, when he was trying to stop the building of the temple, he was a nobody. I'm not going to kill him now. I'm going to let everybody know. I'll make him great, and afterwards I'll hang him. Therefore, it said that Haman was allowed to put his chair above all of the seat, above all of the other ministers, and afterwards Haman was hung. We're going to see in a moment. The enemies of God will be knocked down. First of all, God lets them go up, and then he knocks them down. Like it says, Magila goyim yavedu. It says the high people in Job, the high people of the non-Jews will all be destroyed. So if you have questions, why is the church so powerful? Why is obviously it's a sign that they're right. You can ask the same thing. Why does Haman get so powerful? Now it's a sign that he's right, and all of a sudden we'll see. Let's go. Matan Esther. So the king said, "Well, Esther, I really like you. Anything you want, I'll give." And Esther said, "Vatomer Esther Amalkan." Esther said, "Vatomer im Matan Esther," and Esther claimed, and she said, if I found grace in your eyes, and if it's good for the king, give me my own soul, my own life with my request, and my nation and my my desire. As you said, whatever I ask and whatever I desire will be given to me. So what I ask is to save me and to save my people. Rashi, Shalom Arag, that I shouldn't be killed, I should not be killed on the 13th day of Adar, that you made this decree to kill my people, all the Jews. He did not tell her yet that she's a Jew. First time he hears about this. Shalom Arag, Kazeris Hariga Al Ami and Molarati, my people and my birthright. The Ami, and that's in other words, don't kill me. The Ami, and also my people. If Natanli, this is one word, should be two words. Natanli b'bakashati shalo yargu ve'im tomar ma'achpatli. If you give me my bakashati, that they also should not be killed. And if you want to say, what do you care? Because I'll say, listen, you're going to save me, and you're not going to save my people. How can I stand by and watch my people get killed? Right. So in other words, you're going to destroy my life. I can't stand and watch my whole people be killed as well. So save me and save my people. All of a sudden, the king is starting to realize, hey, my wife is Jewish. That must be Kinim Karnu, because we've been sold. Anivami Nalhashmi La Rogulabed, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be liquidated. The Ilu Lavadim Shifachotnim Karnu, if the king would have made a decree to sell us all into slavery, Hecharashni, I would be quiet. Tsar Shoveh Benezek Melech, because that would be painful to me, but it wouldn't be that I would keep it to myself because of the damage for the king. In other words, what's going on over here? The Jewish people, what do you want to kill them for? If you want some sort of a benefit from it, right? So sell them to slaves. Do something that's going to be beneficial and sell them. Whoever gave you this advice to kill all the Jews obviously is only interested in damaging you, Your Majesty. What are you going to gain out of killing all the Jews? Absolutely nothing. So he says, Einenu choshesh benezek hamelech she'ilu radaf acharei hanasacha. Hayalo lomar machor. I'm not worried about that the king is going to get damaged. If you would just say, sell the Jews for slaves and get money, says how as hacheotom, but at least they would be alive. Then they would be servants, or with that would be all right, right? That's okay. I would be agreeable to that, right? That you wanted to. I'm not thinking about damaging the king in any way. Right? I only want what's best for you. The king said, "Well, you're right. Why did I think only to kill the Jews for? If I wanted to, I could sell them. What am I going to get out of it?" And he said to Esther, one second. In other words, there's somebody that wants to kill you. You're my wife. I really like you. He spent several years to find Esther. Finally found a lady that he likes in the place of Vashti. And not only that, he's going to kill all the Jews. What am I going to get out of it? Absolutely nothing. If the person who gave that advice that wants to do that who was thinking about me would say, sell the Jews into slavery or something. He said, who did this that was Malu Libo, that had the chutzpah, that had the audacity to do such a thing. Rashi, Achashverosh said to Esther HaMalkah, any place where it says Vayomer, see it says Vayomer HaMelech Achashverosh, Vayomer Esther HaMalkah. Anytime it says twice, it says it's coming to tell us there's something has to be learned over here. The Midrash says in the beginning, as the king would speak to Esther by means of some sort of a go-between, a minister or something. And now, because the king is always worried about his life, somebody's going to try to kill him. And now he's dropped the go-between, and he's just speaking directly to her himself. Now it says, who is this person? Who is the one that wants to do it? Vayomer Esther ish tsar boyev, a person that's how do you say, a troublemaker and an enemy. Haman hara, this evil Haman. Haman got scared. All of a sudden, Haman was startled between the king. Now, Haman, he didn't know that Esther was a Jew. He's trying to kill the Jews. So it says, one second, all of a sudden the king starts putting two and two together. What does it mean? The king realizes what's going on over here. Hey, this same person, he's the one that advised me to kill my first wife, Vashti. Right? I didn't really have anything against her. Vashti, he really sort of liked Vashti. But because Vashti didn't come, so he got all of a sudden this advice to kill Vashti. So this Haman, he told me to kill my first wife. Now he's going to come and kill my second wife. And not only that, think about it 1 second. Just last night, I opened up my Chronicles book, and I saw that Haman, that Mordechai wanted to save my life. He's trying to kill Haman, who likes me, right? He saved my life, Haman. So the king suddenly says, so the king stood up in his fury, from the wine, El Ginata Betan, and he went outside to the garden to calm down a little bit. Haman Omad, and Haman stood up, to request for his life from Esther. Because he saw, because he saw that that's it, the king finished him. That the king had already said, okay, that's it. I'm just going to take care of him, to kill Haman. Why in the world did the king go out why didn't he just ask from the king himself? Why didn't he just start bowing down to the king himself? He said, the fact is, when the king went out into the garden, now he found the time. Oh, now's the time I can at least ask Esther myself. Also, the king, we're going to see. So he's going to ask for the king. He's going to ask Esther. The king came back. He was just furious with anger. He thought he was going to have a heart attack or something. So he went out into the garden just to breathe a little bit. Haman's not going to be able to run away. He's got all the guards standing around him. Came back. He came back to the meal. The Haman nafal ala mitasher Esther aleh. And Haman actually fell on the bed that Esther was on. People used to eat sort of laying down over to the side. Hasava, it's called. And so they were, and the king said, what are you trying to do? You're trying to rape the queen with me in the house? It came out from the face of the king, and the face of Haman was covered over. We had before it was chafui rosh. Now, before he was covered with excrement. Now his face is going to be covered over, and we'll see why. Rashi explains what happened. Does it say this? No. Yeah, here. He fell. Haman fell down. Why did Haman fall down? An angel pushed him. Alamitah Esther aleh, on the bed. That's what his wife said. Nafal topal lipanav. If Mordechi, is one of the Jews, then you're going to fall on him. That's how we started the class. Nafal tipol. You'll fall and fall. What does it mean, fall and fall? Here's the second time he fell. First of all, Esther comes in and said, he tried to kill me. He's trying to kill Mordechai. The king said, wow, Mordechai, remember, he's a nice guy. He saved my life. I just remember last night, I read about it. And all of a sudden, that's the first time he falls. Now he falls again on top of Esther. Says the way it was to sit in the meal on their sides on Gabimitas, like it says in the beginning of the book, Mitot Zal Bekesef. The Gabi Mishnah says they had big meal over there. There was beds that people would sort of recline and they would eat. When he said this is in a way of a what do they say, a rhetorical statement. You're coming to rape the king, the queen, in front of in my own house in front of me. And this is just too, you're really gone wild. So it says Haman Chafu is, where is it? Anyway, it says, here, Chamfu. This is the Malbim. Malbim, he writes that the face of Haman was covered. Says the way of the Persians was that if the king decides to kill somebody, the standing in front of, they would cover the person's face over. They would cover his face over in order that the king would at least calm down a little bit. It would be able to calm down the king. You wouldn't see this person's face anymore. And then they would take him out. What's going to happen to Haman? We'll see. All of a sudden comes in Charbona, one of the servants of the king, in front of the king, Vagam, and all of a sudden he says like this, Vagam, here's the big tree, the gallows that Haman made for Mordechai, that he said good things about the king. Maybe Beit Haman, it's standing over there in the house of Haman. He made it so high that everybody could see it. Kavua Chamishim Amma was 50 amas high, right? It was like 75, something like that, 80 feet high. Vayomer HaMelech, and king said, Talu olav, hang Haman on this gallows, on the, 8-story high gallows. Rashi says, Gamara Cheret, he did another thing. Not only did he want to kill your wife, and he wanted to kill the Jews, and now you see he's trying to rape your wife right in front of you. But he did another thing. He built a big tree to kill the one who loved the king. Remember, the king saved your life. Mordechai saved the king's life from poison, right? The two big sons of Asherish, they wanted to kill the king. So that's a pretty clear proof that Haman really means business, and he wants to get rid of everybody that the king loves. Vayitlu et Haman, they hung Haman on the tree that he prepared for Mordechai, Hamat Hamelech, and the the anger of the king. It calmed down. The king finally calmed down. Next chapter. We have 10 more minutes. Okay, on that very day, Natan Amelech Achashverosh Lester Malkon. Now, this is already what the first day of Chol Hamoed Pesach, Passover. And some people even make a little sort of remembrance of that day because that's the day that Haman was killed. Passover. That year, they didn't eat on Passover. They didn't eat on Passover that year. And now Haman gets killed on the first day, 2 days of Passover, right outside of Israel. And that day, Achashverosh gave to Esther the house of Haman Tzora Yehudim. The house of Haman was tremendously rich. All of a sudden, the whole thing was free. Haman, she got all the possessions of Haman, and Mordechai came in front of the king because Esther said, Mahu Lah, what he is to her. I didn't think she didn't say, Ehu Korovlo. She didn't tell him, the king, that she's married to Mordechai. She didn't tell him that, because if so, the king might have killed him. Who knows? She said that this is my uncle, Mordechai. The king took off his ring. How did he take off his ring? He gave the ring earlier to Haman. He said, well, Havir mi Haman. Before Haman was taken to be hung, so obviously he took the ring back from him, and he gave it to Mordechai. All of a sudden, Mordechai was the despised people. He was all supposed to be killed. We'll see. Now, it's not so. It's not the end yet. There's still this decree hanging over the Jewish people's heads to be destroyed. And the king is going to say, listen, about that decree, I can't change it. I can't take it back. We'll see. The decree is standing. I can't take it back, but I'm going to give the Jewish people permission. I'm going to announce permission for the Jews to fight back. Before that, there was not permission. I'm agreeing with the Jews' permission. We're going to see. We haven't gotten to that yet. In any case, the king takes his ring off and he gives it. He takes the ring that he had given to Haman, but he took it back from Haman and he gave it to Mordechai. And he put Esther, and Esther put Mordechai as the ruler over the house of Haman. And Esther continued to speak in front of the king. And she fell before the king's feet, and she wept. This, if you remember, this is the name of the mimer that we're learning in the morning, right, from Torah. And she wept, Lavir et rat Haman Agagi, to remove this terrible decree of Haman and his thought that he wanted to destroy all of the Jews. Shalotit Kaim, that it should not be done. His evil decree shouldn't be. The king just sent out a letter and saying, forget about that first letter. Don't prepare yourself to kill. The king stuck out to Esther his Sharvita Zahav, his golden scepter. And Esther stood up and she stood in front of the king. What does that mean? He gave her permission to stand up and speak privately to the king. All this time, the king there's somebody else standing there and watching. The king still doesn't really trust anybody. And the king, she says, listen, Your Majesty, if it's good for the king, and if I found favor in your eyes, and if this thing is right in front of the king, and I am good in his eyes, then write another letter, Lashiv et Asforim, to bring back that first decree, right? What do they call it? An amendment. Take back this decree, Machshavas Haman ben Hadassah, that all, after all, what was the first decree? To kill all the Jews. This was the thought of Haman, the Agagi, that he wanted to destroy all the Jews. I mean, he is your enemy. Asher b'chol middos hamelech, and all the kingdoms of the king, he wanted to kill everybody. Take it back, right? Take back the decree. The king says, she continues, how can I stand and see this terrible thing that's going to happen to my people? And how can I see the destruction of my birthright? These people are Jews. They all are relatives of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, just like me, right? We never did any bad to anybody. Why, and it's only beneficial to the king. Why do you want to do this? So the king said, the king said to Achashverosh, Lester Malkal Mordechai Yehudi, Hine Beit Haman natati Lester v'sei talu al eitz, and I hung him. I gave all the properties of Haman to Esther, and I hung him on a tree because you wanted to do bad to the Jews. And so now you can see that all I want, I'm interested in your benefit. The kol mashamru shetomru yaminu, and everything you say, I believe. They'll say that everything comes from she me'itiu, that it comes from me. And if there's anything that you say, they'll know that I agree. Therefore, you don't have to bring back these the decrees, but you write decrees however you want. So in other words, what's the king saying? The king is saying, I'm not going to return the decree, but I'll let you write an opposite decree, right? Opposite decree, and you can write it in your name. Why do that? Why not bring that? Because Vatem, you, kitvu al Yehudim, write to the Jews whatever you want in the name of the king. And I'll let you sign it with the seal of the king. Why? Kikata, because a letter that was written in the name of the king and it was sealed with the king is Ein Lashiv. There was the first letter that I wrote. I can't bring it back. Ein no Lashivo lasot katav melech bezuyav. What's everybody going to say? The first letter that I sent out, I changed my mind. The king changed my mind. Or maybe, what do you want to say? Maybe the first letter of the king, that wasn't the real letter. And this is. So nobody's going to know. How can you, in the future letters, maybe future letters will also be wrong. Maybe it's a fake, the forgery. So the king said, listen, every letter I send out has to be real. I'll let you send out a second letter, but you can't write in the second letter that the first letter was wrong. You can't letter, right? You can't say that I'm returning back the first letter, that I changed my mind. It's not nice. Kings don't change their mind. So they called the Sofri HaMelech, the scribes of the king. Those days they didn't have newspapers, they didn't have internet. How did they get letters around? They had 100 people that knew how to write, 1,000 people, and they were all told what to write. And then all of them wrote, and they gave it to messengers that went out to different places and announced it. So they called the scribes of the king in that month. This is on the Chodesh HaShlishi, in the third month. This is already Sivan, right? The decree was made in Nisan. And this all took a little bit of time, and for the Haman was killed and everything, for these letters to be sent out on the 23rd day of Sivan, and they wrote everything. They still have 9 more months until this decree is going to be in effect. They wrote everything that Mordechai said to the Yehudit and to the Jews and to the Achashtarpanim, all these different mayors and governors, whatever, Vasaria Medinos, and the heads of all these different countries. The Jews were scattered around the whole world, right? 127 different countries. The Jews were all over the place, from Hodu until Kush. 127 countries. Each one according to their alphabet, right? You ever see nowadays, even nowadays, the Persians have a different alphabet than the Russians do, and the Russians have a different alphabet than the Chinese do, and the Chinese do, and every nation in different languages, and also to the Jews according to their how they write, right? In Hebrew and whatever, and into their language. What did they wrote? What did they write? I'm sorry, Rashi. Kekadavam means the alphabet, the letters, Kalashono, and the language they wrote. And it was written in the name of the king Achashverosh, and it was signed with the seal of the king. And it was sent on these messengers on horses, Rochve, Harechesh, Vachashtar Panim, Paneam Ramachim, all these different, whatever it is, Ramachim, there's some sort of camels or something like that. It says, Rotzim, they were on horses, and Achashtar Panim, Achashtarnim, one second. Achashtranim. The Achashtranim, these are camels, some sort of a camel, but they're very, very quickly, they run very quick. I don't know what's quicker, a camel or a horse. I don't know. Maybe I guess horses don't run through the desert, and camels run through the desert. Could be. I never saw it. They have camel races. I don't know. I have to look it up. Never heard of such a thing. In any case, what does it say? That it was the king, Asher Natan Amelch Yehudim, that the king gave to the Jews, B'chol year of year, in every single city, L'hikahel, to gather, V'lamod al Hashem, and to protect themselves. Lashmir larog labed, and to kill and destroy and liquidate kol chel hamanida harotzim otam, that they could kill anyone that tried to sarim otam, anyone that tried to make trouble for them. Taf anashim l'shalom abos, children, anyone that was trying to make trouble for them and kill them, they had permission to stand up and kill them back. And it says, Ushlalam Lavos, they had permission to we'll see afterwards. It says they had permission also to take the money of anyone who wants to do trouble to them. And Rashi says, you'll see that finally that the Jews do not take any money from anybody, so that it'll be obvious that the only reason this whole thing happened was only just the Jews were saving their lives. They were not interested in anyone else's money. And this we're going to have to continue, God willing, tomorrow. This is the 10th, the 8th chapter. We're almost finished with the 8th chapter. And yeah, the 8th chapter. We just have a few more to go in the 8th chapter. There's only 10 chapters in the whole Magila, and the last chapter is very, very short. So tomorrow, maybe we can try to change this. We're going to see that everything all of a sudden turns around, and that the Jews, in fact, do defeat all of their enemies. And the day after the victory are the holidays of Purim. Hope to see you all tomorrow, 8:15 tomorrow morning. God bless you with Mashiach now.